first, I wanted to touch on and add to a column I wrote for the Daily Telegraph on Friday. Now, I made the point that the horrific deaths of over 50 people in the United States last week at the hands of people smugglers should be a warning to the new government not to weaken our stance on borders. Not because this country doesn't care about the plight of those less fortunate, but because we do. What happened in the back of that truck is sickening.
This morning, first responders describing a semi-truck full of horror.
The heat was torrential. There was no air in that vehicle. There was no water. They suffered. They lost consciousness and then they ended up dying.
Now, what happens to desperate souls at sea is equally tragic. People smugglers are the lowest form of life, the most evil human beings on the planet. They care not for the people they smuggle in any way, shape or form. They are mafia-like. They have no morals, no ethics. They lie blatantly to their naive victims and they see their clientele as expendable. They don't care about anything other than making money from other people's misery and desperation. They sell lies. They also sell weakness. Any sign of weakness is a green light. We've already seen an increase in boats trying to make it to Australia since Labor came into power. They've turned them back, as they said they would, credit there. That's the first of the 3 pillars of Operation Sovereign Borders. But they have rejected temporary protection visas, and it appears further that they are confusing the 3rd pillar, offshore processing, with offshore resettlement. Now, don't for a second think this isn't being used as a carrot by these criminals. It is. They are not modern-day incarnations of Robin Hood. They are scumbags. Now, what I didn't mention in my column was the suffering they caused to the first responders as well. Imagine opening the back of that truck in Texas and finding over 50 people who had fried to death. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? A retired Navy officer sent me a note yesterday, having read my piece, and I quote directly, "I know several former sailors who have been medically retired due to the mental health emanating from handling of burnt or waterlogged bodies of men, women, and children who have died at sea. The bodies were stored in their vessels for days until landed. The odour remains for weeks. Sadly, the memory lasts much longer." Now, we owe it to them, to everyone involved, not to weaken one iota, because if we do, there'll be blood on our hands, as well as those who profit from this vile practice.